Hello guys, welcome back to GPU Tester. Today we have another benchmark for you. We're going to be comparing the RTX 6800 XT against the 2060 Super. You can see the specifications of the card on the screen right now, and you'll also be able to see the test bench I'll be using. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First game we have on the list is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. In Call of Duty, the 6800 XT gets an average FPS of 115, whereas the 2060 Super gets an average FPS of 47. That is way more than twice the FPS, but it also does consume quite a bit more power. Still, it is way more efficient at the same time, and you can get more frames per watt with the 6800 XT. Overall, the experience with the 2060 Super isn't that great, and because this is primarily a multiplayer title, I wouldn't suggest you play this game at these settings. You can turn it down to, let's say, 1080p or something, and it's gonna run much better. Next game we have on the list is Counter-Strike 2. We're going to be running this game at 1440p using the very high settings preset. And in terms of FPS, we get 357 on the 6800 XT, whereas we get 157 on the 2060 Super. The 1% lows are also pretty good for both at 293 and 130. Counter-Strike is a very light title to run, and both these cards do an excellent job at handling it, with the 6800 XT getting more than twice the FPS as the 2060 Super, and that is a pattern we're gonna continue to see in this benchmark. Again, I know these cards are not comparable, but this video is for people who want to upgrade. Next game on the list is Hogwarts Legacy. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the high settings preset. In terms of FPS, we get 93 on the 6800 XT and 49 FPS average on the 2060 Super. One thing that the 2060 gets over the 6800 XT is the LSS support. And in this case, if you had enabled the LSS, you can probably get 60 FPS on the 2060 Super. Still, even if you do enable the LSS, the 6800 XT is gonna be quite a bit ahead. And same is the case with 1% lows, where the 6800 XT gets 1% lows of 68, whereas the 2060 Super gets 37. Next game on the list is Dying Light 2. We're going to be playing at 1440p at the high settings preset. In Dying Light 2, the 6800 XT gets an average FPS of 104, followed by the 2060 Super with 43. That is quite a big lead, and again, like I said, we'll see this trend throughout this benchmark. Still, you can enable the LSS in Dying Light 2, and it is a single player title, so it is playable with the 2060 Super, but the 6800 XT has no problem, and you won't have to resort to upscaling techniques to get the 60 FPS experience. Next game on the list is Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the high settings preset. In terms of averages, we get 86 on the 6800 XT and 42 on the NVIDIA. The 1% lows are pretty decent as well at 62 and 32. I keep mentioning DLSS, but Cyberpunk does have one of the best implementation of DLSS, so you should definitely try it out. Play it at quality or balanced, both of them look amazing, and it is very stable as well. The sharpness looks good. There is a tiny bit of ghosting, but it's not really noticeable while you're gaming. Next game on the list is God of War. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the Ultra Settings preset. In God of War, the 6800 XT does an amazing job, getting an average of 114. The 2060 Super isn't bad with 54, but it is definitely showing its age. Overall, the game looks fine. DLSS, I would not suggest you turn it on because it uses a pretty old version of it, which doesn't look too good. But let's see if you have a monitor that is 24 inches at 1440p, you can turn it on and it's gonna look really good still. Next game on the list is Spider-Man. We're going to be playing at 1440p at the very high settings. Spider-Man is pretty light to run as the 6800 XT gets an average FPS of 116 and the 2060 Super also gets a respectable average of 68. The 1% lows come in at 74 and 47. Spider-Man again has DLSS and FSR. FSR looks pretty bad, I would not suggest using it, and you won't even have to use it with the 6800 XT, but DLSS looks fine and you can definitely try it out. Overall, very good experience with both cards, and I could enjoy the game with either of these cards.
Hey, the app's saying there's a helicopter flying around like it's possessed.
Next game on the list is Uncharted 4. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the Ultra Settings preset. And once again, the 6800 XE gets an average of 116. Got that in Spider-Man as well. The 1% lows are 94. On the 2060 Super, we get an average of 54, with the 1% lows coming in at 37. Overall decent experience in both. This is a pretty slow paced title. Yes, there are some action scenes, but you don't need to react quick for them. So it's a good experience with both of the cards. The 6800 XT is obviously a lot better, more than twice as much actually. And yeah, you can have a lot of fun playing this game.
See any way to get to Sam? Not yet. We're running on the road.
Next game on the list is Hitman 3. We're going to be running this at 1440p at the ultra settings, and Hitman 3 is a game that even the 2060 Super runs really well. You get an average FPS of 78 on the 2060 Super, 1% lows come in at 62. And if the 2060 Super does amazingly, then you can expect the 6800 XT to completely crush this benchmark. And it gets an average FPS of 161 with 1% lows coming in at 122. If you have a high refresh rate monitor, you're definitely gonna be noticing the jump, and it's gonna feel really smooth and good on the 6800 XT.
I think someone is trying to help them out. There's this building where human go. I think they help.
Next game on the list is Red Dead Redemption 2. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the Ultra Settings preset. In terms of average, the 6800 XE gets an average FPS of 95, whereas the 2060 Super gets an average FPS of 46. The 1% lows come in at 77 for the 6800 XT and 38 for the 2060 Super. This is an extremely slow paced title, so even if you had 30 FPS or anything above 30 FPS, you can enjoy this game to its fullest. And again, this is more of a cinematic game, so most people would just want their game to look better than to like get 90 or 100 FPS. You can definitely have fun. Next game on the list is Watch Dogs Legion. We're going to be playing at 1440p using the Ultra Settings preset. In Watch Dogs Legion, the 6800 XE gets an average FPS of 97, whereas the 2060 Super gets an average FPS of 52. Both of these cards perform pretty good. Watch Dogs does have a really good DLSS implementation, so you can use that on the 2060 Super and get 60 plus FPS, but the 6800 XE doesn't need upscaling to get 60 FPS and it runs flawlessly. Overall, really good experience on both. The 1% loads are also pretty good, so yeah, great experience. The final game on the list is Horizon Zero Dawn. It is a pretty old game, so even the 2060 Super can manage a 60 FPS average, whereas the 6800 XE gets 127 FPS on average. The 1% lows are 94 and 54 respectively. This game does use a lot of VRAM when it's available, so if you had, let's say, 12 GBs of VRAM, it's going to use a lot more than if you had 8 GBs of VRAM. That does not really affect performance as much. It is just caching the textures so that they load quicker. Overall, great experience in both, and that will also bring an end to our benchmark. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do let me know in the comments what you thought of it, and I'll catch you in the next one.